In this video, we will discuss asymmetric information as another category of market failures. We've already discussed how negative and positive externalities and how public goods can lead to deadweight loss. Let's see how a lack of information or misinformation can also cause deadweight loss. Let's assume that you were interested in purchasing a chia pet, and you assumed that the chia pet will look something like this picture on the left. But when you purchase the chia pet and you give it a try, it ends up looking like this picture on the right. And so this is the key idea behind what we call asymmetric information. Information that either the buyer or the seller in the market has that the other does not have. In this case, the seller had more information about how the product may actually turn out, and the buyer had not very much information. Let's take a look at how asymmetric information can cause deadweight loss in markets. Let's draw a graph with quantity of chia pets on the x-axis and price per chia pet on the y-axis. And let's draw in a standard upward sloping supply curve. This supply curve is representing the cost of producing each additional chia pet. And let's also have two demand curves that we'll draw in. D1, this first demand curve represents your true demand for chia pets if you had full information about the quality of the product. And we have this picture shown here of the true information of what you would expect. D2, or the second demand curve, is going to represent your demand for chia pets if you were fooled into thinking that it turned out like the advertisement, with a full head of hair. Let's start by asking the question, how many would you have purchased if you had full information, and at what price per chia pet? And if you had asymmetric information, how many would you have purchased and at what price? So take a minute and see if you can answer those two questions. So how many would we purchase if we had full information? Well, we would purchase 5 chia pets, and we'd only be willing to pay $2 per chia pet at that quantity of 5. But given that we were fooled into thinking that this product was going to be better, we thought that we were willing to pay $5 per chia pet and buy 8 of them. And so let's take a look at how we can see if there's deadweight loss at D2. So let's imagine that we are operating under asymmetric information at D2. So we decide that we are going to buy 8 chia pets here. But we know that the socially optimal quantity, Q star, is going to be at 5 chia pets, because that's where the true demand curve and the true supply curve intersect. So is there deadweight loss at D2? And if so, where? Pause the video and see if you can find the area of deadweight loss if we're operating at 8 chia pets instead of 5. One easy way to see the deadweight loss is that we can erase the demand curve that shouldn't exist, which is this D2 demand curve. So let's just color over this with white, and it will be much more clear to see what is going to be the area of deadweight loss where we have negative net benefits in that area. We've erased that D2 demand curve, but we know we're still consuming 8 chia pets. We know that the 8th chia pet costs $5 to make, but we would benefit from the 8th chia pet at less than $1. Let's say that this is at 50 cents. So purchasing the 8th chia pet is giving us a negative net benefit of $4.50, and we can represent that by this line here of negative net benefit from consuming that 8th chia pet. The 7th chia pet, similarly, we value at $1, but it would cost us, let's say, $4. And the 6th chia pet, we benefit at, let's say, $1.50, but it costs us $3. And so these lines here are showing us the area that would correspond to deadweight loss as a result of consuming 8 chia pets instead of 5. And so this is the area shaded in right here that corresponds to deadweight loss if we are fooled into consuming 8 chia pets because of lack of information on the quality of the product. So you may think that this might not be such a big problem, but from an economic standpoint, It's a pretty painful problem in general for society, because what we're doing here, if we buy 8 chia pets at $5 per chia pet, we're telling society that we need to devote more resources into making chia pets because we value them so much, instead of what we actually value them at. And so society devotes more resources towards making chia pets instead of making something else that we could have made, maybe more healthcare or more televisions or more of any other good that we could have made. And so that's the deadweight loss that we experience as a society for consuming too much of some good. Two types of asymmetric information that we can discuss are adverse selection and moral hazard. Adverse selection is defined as one side of the market having more information that is not known to the other side and self-selects in a way that adversely affects the party on the other side of the market. We'll go through an example of adverse selection, which will help make some sense. Moral hazard is defined as one party in a transaction changing their behavior in a way that is hidden and costly to the other party. Let's take a look at adverse selection, specifically in the life insurance market. Now let's imagine that you were interested in purchasing life insurance, and life insurance companies try to get as much information as they can about their consumers. So they come over and they check your medical history, they see if you're a smoker, they see your age and all the other biometric features. But you have a hobby that you keep hidden from the life insurance company, specifically something like this. So you, as a consumer in this life insurance market, you know that you live a life that is more risky. The life insurance company does not know that, and this will result in lower premiums, but will end up being costly because of this hidden information. So this is a good example of adverse selection. Let's take an example of moral hazard. Let's imagine that you have an iPhone, and you take really good care of it because you have no insurance, you have nothing on it. So if you break it, you have to repair it yourself. But after a few months, let's imagine that you purchase AppleCare, which is a type of insurance for fixing phones that break. Now, as a result of purchasing this AppleCare, you may end up being less careful with your iPhone because you know that if you break the phone, then only part of that cost is going to be borne onto you because you have this AppleCare that's protecting your phone. And so after getting this product, you change your behavior that ends up being costly to another group or another party. This is one example of moral hazard, and this is something that insurance companies especially have to take into account in their operations. Here are some review questions if you'd like to take a look. This concludes the module on market failures and how those market failures can be corrected. Thank you.